Today we are going to be talking about some useful array methods. We are going to be talking about object methods, then the arrow function. So at the end of this class, you should know what array methods are, what object methods are, and what the arrow function is all about. So let's proceed first. As a first, we are talking about, we have a script file here, a JavaScript file that is already linked to our HTML file. So go ahead and do that so you can follow us in this particular episode. All right, so let's go. We're talking about useful array methods. Useful array methods. Next, we'll be talking about object method. Object method. Then we're talking about the arrow function. The arrow function. So we're talking about useful array methods, object methods, then the arrow function. So what are the array methods we're talking about today? We're talking about the length, talking about the slice method, talking about the push method, we're talking about the pop method, talking about the index of method, then we're talking about the includes. So we need to comment this includes method. All right, so let's proceed. What are array methods all about? So array methods are used to perform actions in an array. All right, so array methods are those methods used to perform actions in an array. So to perform actions, we use array method to perform different actions in an array. So let's begin with the length. All right, what does the length method do? All right, the length method is used to check the number of elements, values, or items a particular array contains. All right, this is check the number of elements, values, or items a particular array contains. All right, so how do we do that? First of all, let's initialize an array. Let's create an array. Let's say const equals r equals to array. So let's say this will be an array of names. All right, an array of names. All right, so we'll call this names as strings. So Emmanuel, earlycode. So we have a comma. Emmanuel, comma. So coding is going to be an array of string coding, comma. JavaScript. Don't forget your quotation mark. JavaScript. Alright, so we have initialized an array right now, right? We have initialized an array, and this array contains different values, string values. Alright, so let's make this more inclusive. Let's add numbers here, 50. And finally, let's add a boolean value, true. Perfect. So these are the values that this array contains. So what does the array.length method do? All right, what does the length method do? The length method checks how many values or items or elements this particular array contains. All right, so let's console along this array to see what it looks like on our console. So I console the log. So we have this. So let's run it on our browser and see. So we're running. So let's go to the console and inspect our browser so we can see what's happening on the console. So we'll get to the console here, then inspect. So we have this array. So we have different all the values being logged on our console. Don't forget I said the values of an array occupy different or unique index positions. All right, so we have earlycode at index position of 0, the manager's position of 1, and so on. So what does the array.length method do? So we'll come here and say console.log console.log r.length. All right, so our VS Code IntelliSense isn't helping us get it faster. So the length. So let's run it. Control R. All right, so it's telling us that we have 6 different values inside of this array, and exactly that's what we have. 6 different values inside of this array. So this is used to the dot length method is used to check how many values or items or elements you have in a particular array. So the next is the slice method. All right, so we're still working with the array we initialized earlier, the array we initialized earlier. So I'm going to say, okay, what does the slice method do? All right, the slice method is used to cut part a particular part, cut part, cut part to cut out a part of an array. All right, probably you want to create a sub array from an existing array. You want to cut out some part of the array. You do that using the slice method. So how is it written? Let's say we are working with the array we already created. We'll say, okay, dot slice. This is syntax for it. Dot slice. First, let me see what the syntax is all about. First of all, array. So I just want to show the syntax. Array slice. We have start index, start index, comma, then end index. All right, so this is the syntax for the slice method. All right, the name of the array followed by the slice, then the parentheses. Inside the parentheses, you identify from which part of the array to which part of the array do you want to slice. The first is the start index, that is showing where you want to begin your slicing, and the end index showing where you want to end the slicing. All right, so let's proceed. Let's say we are working with this array that we have created here, the r dot slice. Let's say we want to cut out, and don't forget, cut out Emmanuel and coding, these 2 values out of this array. All right, so we want to cut it out of this array. How do we do that? We come here, array dot slice. Don't forget, the Emmanuel is occupying a position of 1, so that will be our start index. So we have 1. All right, so I say we are cutting out comma, we are cutting out Emmanuel and coding off of this array. So Emmanuel is occupying index position of 1, so we're going to, it will be from 1 and 1 comma then 3. Don't forget, the end index is exclusive. It's written, but we don't cut the end index. So right now we're going to just cut 1 and 2. The 3, which is the end index, will be left behind. So that's how the syntax works. So we'll come here and say, let's console.log this so I can see the result of this. We'll say console.log we have this. All right, so let's so that we can see what it looks like on our console. Perfect. So we have this. All right, so this Control R. I see we have made a sub array out of that. So we cut out Emmanuel and code. Don't forget the start index and the end index. The start index shows where you want to begin the slice from. Then the end index shows where you want to end it. And don't forget, the end index in particular is not cut out, it is excluded. All right, so anything between the start and the end index is what is cut out. So right now, Emmanuel and coding has been sliced out of that particular array. So the next thing we're going to be working with, the next thing we're going to do is look at it also, the push, the array, the push method. What is the push method? The push method is used to add items, elements, or values into an array. Add items, elements, or values into an array. So let's look at that. And so the push. So I'm still working with the the array we earlier created. Let's say array, that is r. So console.log the number, okay, r dot push. All right, so the push receive as an argument the values or the items you want to push into the array. So array dot push. Let's say I'm pushing uniquely, then let me say I'm pushing the value miracle as a string. I'm pushing miracle. All right. Don't forget my array. When I first created my array, I don't have miracle inside the array. Right now, I'm pushing a new value miracle into the array. So let's proceed. So now let's come and we have added with this code, this particular syntax, we have added miracle into the array. So let's confirm if it's there. So we say console.log the log. All right. Okay. All right. So let's check the new value of the array, the new state of the array after that syntax. So we'll come in, reload r. I see, check our console. So we have miracle there right now. We have miracle there. So we have added miracle into the array. So the push method is used to add a new item or value into our array. So the next thing we'll be talking about now is the pop method. What does the pop method do? And don't forget, whatever value is being added into array, it is added towards the right, alright, so it occupies the next index position. So if we have an array that is which last value is probably sitting at an index position of 5, and we add another value to the array using the push method, that value I add is going to go and sit on the index position of 6, alright, and that's how it goes on and on. Alright, so next is the pop method. The pop method is used to remove an item or an element or a value from an array. Alright, it's used to remove an item from an array. So let's say array dot pop. Alright, so this is the syntax. Alright, come on, so we'll come and check. We say console.log console.log like I said, the pop method is used to remove an element from an array, and the element is removed at the end, all right, at the end index. That is at the, let's say an element has, like we have, looking at this console, you see we have 7 different values inside of this array, and miracle, which is the last value, sitting as an index position of 6. All right, so when you pop, you remove the particular element sitting at the end index. All right, so the end index here in this one is 6, is the 6th index, which has the value of miracle. All right, so this pop is going to delete that particular value. So let's consider log and see what we're going to have. All right, you see we have a new array that doesn't have the index position of 6 anymore. It has been removed using the pop. All right, so that's what the pop method do in an array. So next we're looking at the index of. What does the index of do? The index of method is used to check the particular index position a particular item in an array occupy. All right, it's used to check the particular index position a particular item in an array occupy. So let's come, we'll say we're still working. Let's say console.log the log. We have let's check. We want to check the particular position in which the early code item in that array occupies. So we'll come here and put early code. Don't forget, just the way that you created, you are going to write it exactly as it was created. Okay, so we have early code here. So we'll come here and say early code. All right, so we want to check what position early code is occupying. Control R. Oh, so sorry. All right, so we have index index of array dot index of, so inside that index we are going to put the item we are checking inside the parentheses as an argument. So we come to say early code. All right. So perfect. So let's run this on the console. All right. So it's occupying an index position of 0. If you look at this array, you discover that early code is occupying an index position of 0. So the index of method is used to check for the position a particular item of an array occupies. All right. So the next is the includes. The includes is used to check if a particular value, if a particular item is part of the items in a particular array. All right, so right now we have an array called ARR. All right, let's see console, and don't forget the output of this include method is always a boolean, either a true or false value. It checks if this particular element is inside the array, it will give a true. If it's not there, it's going to give a false. So let's come and say, we'll say r dot includes. Let's put a name that's not inside the array. First of all, we know we have early code in the array. We know we have Emmanuel, we know we have Code, we have JavaScript. So let's put something different. Let's say Joy. So let's see the output on our console. Let's see the output on our console. False. All right, it's showing, telling us false, that there's no joy inside of this array. So let's put an item or a value that we know inside the array. We know we have Emmanuel inside the array. So let's try Emmanuel. Perfect. So come and run it and see. Control R. You said true. Emmanuel is included inside of this array. So are you seeing? So these are the useful array methods that you can use to perform different actions inside of array. So next we are going to the object method. What are object methods? First of all, we know what objects are. So what are object methods? Objects, when an object has a function inside, that function is called a method. All right. When an object has a function inside of it, that function is called a method. So let's initialize, create an object of car. All right. So const car. So const car equal to curly bracket. So property, let's say the car has a name. So what's the name? So we have Toyota here, Toyota, and then comma, enter. So color, another property, call it color, and the color of this car is black. All right, black. Next property is doors. How many doors does it have? Let's say doors. Do this. We say it has 4 doors. All right, comma. The next property is the engine. What kind of engine does it have? Let's say it has a V12 engine. All right, it's an SUV car. A V12 engine. We have a V12 engine. A V12 engine. All right, so V12. All right, so comma. So let's console log this car and see. Console the log car. So let's see what we have on our console. We'll have an object log on our console. All right, so the object has 4 properties and values, key value pairs: the color, black; the door, 4; the engine, the V12 engine; the name, the Toyota. So what's object method all about? When this object has a function inside, that function is known as the object method. So let's come here and say next, add a function. Say let's have function drive. All right, so don't forget a method is performing an action. So drive, we have function. All right, so we have console.log. Driving in. So let's use template string to interpolate some of those properties of the object into this. I'm driving let's say I'm driving a Toyota. I'm driving a name. Alright. This dot name, yes, this dot name. I'm driving a Toyota. That is a Toyota that is black in color. That is so also using the template string again, color, this dot color in color. All right, so this is what this is all about. So let me wrap this so that it's visible for us. View, word wrap. All right, perfect, word wrap. So this is a method. All right, when you have a function inside of an object, it becomes the object method. So this function is about I am driving. What the function is just console logging an expression that is interpolated with variables inside. All right, variables from the property of this car object. So let's proceed. Let's console log this. Say console.log car.drive. Perfect. All right. So let's run this on our console. Oh, we don't need to console.log. Since inside the function there's a console.log, you don't need to console.log. You don't need to call the function out. So there's no need to console.log it. All right. So just call it Ctrl R. We have this. I'm driving a Toyota that is black in color. So this in itself, this function that's inside of this object is now the object method because it's performing an action, right? It's performing an action. So this is an object method. When I have a function inside of an object, it becomes the object method. So the next thing we're going to use arrow function, all right? Arrow function is a way of creating functions. All right, so we have different type of functions. We have we have the function declaration, we have the function expression, then we have the arrow function. Each of them have their different syntax, but they can be used to perform function operations. All right, so what does the arrow function look like? What's the syntax for the arrow function? Let's say we have const. So let's call it arrow function, right? Equal to arrow function is different from every other function in that it has a shorter syntax. So developers prefer to use the arrow function because it has a shorter and more simpler syntax. And what that syntax? First we have created the constant name. So the name of the constant is the arrow function. Then this is the syntax. We have the parentheses followed by equal to then the greater than symbol. Then we have our curly bracket. Perfect. All right. So this is the syntax for our arrow function. So it's shorter than the regular function you are used to. All right. It's shorter than the regular function you are used to. So let's come on. Let's say this function. The simple for just say console.log or just say return I am return this. Let's use template string. This is an arrow function. All right, this is an arrow function. So let's call this function out to say console.log Perfect. So let's see what we have on our console. All right, this is an arrow function. So this is basically the syntax for an arrow function. All right, it's much shorter and more easy to use. All right, much shorter and more easy to use. And don't forget, arrow function can also contain parameters and what, and argument. All right, it can also contain parameters and argument. So let me go and perform a particular example that is going to include parameters and argument. Let's say we have const sum. All right, this is a sum function equal to. All right, so we have our arrow. This it looks like an arrow, right? Then we have this. All right, so we want to have it to have a parameter. We call two parameters. We call them num1, num2. All right. So let's say return num1 times num2. So this plus num2 because this is a sum addition operation. So num2. Perfect. All right. So this is performing a sum and addition operation. All right. So we come here and say console.log sum. So we're trying to call it. So inside that parenthesis, we'll put the argument. All right, to put that. Let's say the argument for the normal will be 10. Then for the num2 comma for respectively, it's arranged respectively in tandem with the parameter. So num2 is 20. So 10 plus 20 will give us 30. All right, so console.log and reload, you have 30. All right, so the function, the arrow function can also work just like how can also be used like other functions. Like it has a shorter syntax and it's more easy to use. Thank you very much.